Okay, so how did you, there it is, the okay.
Yes.
How did you, and I just did it again. How do you feel like your lesson went?
I thought it went very well. It was very time consuming, especially like I mentioned, I think to my cohort last week, we have a break this week, so I had to do all the videoing last week. So I was doing a lot of videoing last week, and since it's a project daily, I think it took four out of the four, well, there were only 4 days last week, all 4 days. I thought specifically that the project itself was good for my age level, and I really thought it was meaningful in the fact that it covered every single objective from my unit, and it was a way to kind of bring it all together in a way that kids could have some relevance to all the skills we were learning. I also was really impressed with how the partners work together. Last year I did the project twice, and one time I tried it with partners, and the other time I tried it with letting kids do it independently, and I found that partners did work much better because they were able to share ideas, they got ideas from each other. But this year I thought it went even better. The first day it took a little while for them to warm up together, but then by the second day it was so cool to see them. They were both on their posters, using their pencils together, talking about it, deciding on things together. So I thought that was I was really pleased to see that. Also this time around I had a very clear rubric for the actual poster or the map project. Last year I did not have a clear rubric, so when it came time to grade the presentations and the posters, I was it felt very subjective because I wasn't quite sure how to grade it. So this year it made it much easier because I had the rubric. And then also the video presentations were a new idea this year. Last year they stood up front and they showed their posters, but I found that as an audience you couldn't really see the details because there's all these little details, and so the presentations kind of lacked interest because way that far back it's hard to see. So with videos I was able to zoom in into the details, and then each partner group actually got to see their own presentation. Yeah. So I thought that was a really good idea to do this year. So that's kind of the things I thought went well.
And they knew did they know that they were going to be watching the presentations?
Yes.
So letting them know that ahead of time gives them the accountability that
right.
This is going to be published.
Yes, yeah. And they also had that incentive that we would be voting on a favorite community, so that kind of even added a little more interest, I guess, level in the actual project.
Hard working.
Yes.
Effort.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, this is the end of everything. Yes.
Yeah.
I had a question because I noticed even when you were teaching that you had said, last year, so this year. I learned from last year. So I think that's awesome that you used this and you innovated it to make it better for the kids this year, and to have that experience. I noticed that you had created all the groups based on their different qualities. Did you do that last year?
No, last year I did somewhat of the same, but I didn't think it through as much. I wanted to make sure it was really even this year, so I really attempted to distribute high, low, the talkative ones with the less talkative, the ones that were artistic and then less artistic, so that it would all come
Did
together.
they have any issues with their partners at all? Or
no, I was
were
actually
accepting
really, before I even said who the partners were going to be, I told them, I said, now, you might not get your favorite person, but when I announce the names, make sure you keep your opinions to yourself and just have the best attitude you can. And I was really surprised. There was no complaining.
I didn't see anything.
And actually, when I explained how I chose the partners, that actually, I saw, especially in the video, I noticed like one girl in the back was like, okay.
Yeah.
Just the explanation of why and how I chose it, I think helped.
Giving them that justification, right?
Yeah.
It really gives them that understanding and acceptance. Like, oh, that seems fair. It's very important to be fair, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so I have a question. So the very first day you went through the checklist, the instructions, you had it on the board, the B level, and you went through, you let the kids read off the different instructions. How do you feel that went that day?
I thought that went well. It took longer than I was hoping because I think it ended up taking about 20 minutes just to get through those
That was my question,
instructions.
20 minutes.
But I probably wouldn't change that because, especially with this age level, I feel like they have to know very specifically what the expectations are and understand it. Otherwise, when I send them off to their groups, there's a lot of time wasted just trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to do? So it did take longer than I was hoping, but I still think it was beneficial and worth going through.
And I noticed in the videos on maybe day 3 that the kids they had their packet. So
Yeah.
they had the instructions and then they had the rubric, and I noticed that in different video frames that there were kids with the instructions, the B-level instructions on the front or the rubric, and so I could see the different, like what was in their packet just from the videos.
Yeah.
So I was able to answer those questions for myself. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And when did you pass out those instructions?
That was on the first day.
First day.
So yeah, as soon as they got their poster, they got their rubric and they got their B level, but I told them not to look at not even to think about the A until the next day, otherwise it's a little overwhelming.
Right.
So they focused on all the instructions that were done in pencil.
So I like that you have, and teaching with QSI, you have to, give them an opportunity to do the A-level work. And they need to know what that expectation is.
Right.
And I think you did a really good job with that. You went through the B-level, these are the steps, and then the next day you said, okay, you've already begun your B-level, now you can begin thinking about the A-level.
Yeah.
And here are a few things. And you even used an example, like Suin, you started the star thing, Suin, right?
Yeah, yep.
You started the stargazing, this is a good example. And then you also used another one, which was relevant to everyone, the pandas, because they've all been to the pandas. And you were using the 5 themes of geography, and I think that was kind of the whole frame of your lesson was the 5 themes of geography with human interaction.
Right.
But you've also, so in the Skittle review, you go through all 5, Mr. Lip.
Yeah.
And so by every day, they're getting that spiral of it.
And by the end, really, I think all of them really got that.
Yeah.
I mean, because we did that daily practice and going over it.
So when you were teaching this throughout this week, because I noticed, your lesson was cut, and I didn't get to see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did you use those 5 themes in the project throughout? I noticed you did it like movement. You had talked about that. But did you
actually,
elaborate more on
in next year's thing, I would like to be more detailed about how that's covered in the project. Although, because this is the introduction unit, each of those 5 things is covered in a separate way in the following unit. So I mostly in this unit, I'm just trying to get the kids to know what the 5 themes are, and then throughout the next units, we kind of cover each one
more elaborately.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. That's in cultural studies, we also use the 5 themes.
Yeah.
5th grade, and I've just given this basic, overview of the 5 themes.
Yeah.
And we used Mr. Lip and Prom, and I let the kids choose which one.
What's the other one?
Prom. P-R.
Okay.
Prom.
Yeah.
But Mr. Lip, like you could visualize it. It's really good for this age.
Right.
So being able to take the next units and say, remember when we did this? This is so you can scaffold.
Yeah.
Along with that. Yeah, that's great. So what's next?
Okay. Maybe we should just talk about the standards real quick.
Okay.
And a lot of this, I think we covered just in talking about the actual project, but standard 4.
Content knowledge. So clearly you show mastery in understanding the content and delivering it. And this would also go with the 5, so 4 and 5, applying it, giving them this project where they have rules to follow, but yet they have the freedom. I really love the map key where you said you can add on